Hey, what's up everyone? Nick here. Welcome to not my walkthrough for God of War, but instead a little preview. And I'll explain why there's a necessity for this video to be made. So for those of you new to my channel, my name is Nick and I typically make hardest difficulty walkthroughs. What does that mean? Well, it means I play the game on the hardest difficulty and I try to give you the best strategies and tips to get through it yourself. Now you can see right here at the start of this beautiful game, the hardest difficulty is called Give Me God of War. Give Me God of War is for those who want the game as difficult as possible, requiring godlike reflexes and strategy. Now the interesting thing about this difficulty, as you saw right there, is that once you start it on the hardest difficulty, you can't change it. And that's something that's different for the other difficulties. So for example, if you start a new game on normal difficulty, and if it's too hard for you, at any point in the game you can change it to easy. Likewise, if the game is not hard enough for you, then you can change it to hard. But if you start the game on the hardest difficulty, you cannot change it. You are locked in. Now, like I said, for those of you new to my channel, typically that's what I do, is I make hardest difficulty walkthroughs. Now the thing about God of War, there's a couple things that are different about this game, which is why I wanted to make this little preview. The first thing that I found interesting and a bit disappointing is that there's actually no trophy involved for beating the game on the hardest difficulty. So typically that's where my biggest audience comes from, is people who want to beat the game on the hardest setting, not because of the challenge, but just because they want to get all of the trophies or achievements, and typically there's one associated with beating the game on the hardest setting. Now unfortunately, like I said, for this game there is no such trophy, so by playing this game on the hardest setting, you are really just doing it for your own personal challenge. Now usually there have been games in the past where if there was no trophy involved, I would just not cover the game because I felt like it wasn't worth my time. But with this game it's different. Right off the bat, I mean, you could probably see it for yourself. Whether you're interested in the hardest difficulty or not, look at this game. It is, I was blown away when I first played it myself. It's a gorgeous game. It's a beautiful game. I have no ties to the God of War franchise, so I feel like I'm a pretty good person to judge this game because I'm not biased in any way. I have played some of the older games, but I just played them. I never really got into them. I don't know the full story. This game, it's very interesting because it's actually God of War 4, so it is in continuity with the rest of the franchise, but it also serves as kind of a reboot. And the only thing I know about that right now is that the original games, they took place all based on Greek mythology. So you're talking Zeus and everything like that. Zeus, Poseidon. I'm not very knowledgeable on all of it, so I can't go into detail. And I don't want to go into detail because, again, this is just a preview video. But the interesting thing about God of War 4, or as I'm just going to call it God of War because that's what the actual title is, this is all based on Norse mythology. So a lot has changed, yet a lot has stayed the same in terms of the game itself. But either way, it's a beautiful game. The reviews are coming in. It is getting stellar reviews, near 10s, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, basically near perfect scores across the board. Now the other thing is, aside from there being no trophy associated with the hardest difficulty, it's also, from what I've heard, just a very challenging difficulty. Like, a couple of the reviewers got a chance to play it on the hardest setting, which again is called Give Me God of War. And they talked about how difficult it is, and to kind of put it into perspective, right now I'm playing the game through on normal difficulty just for my own personal benefit. Now right here, one thing I do want to remark on is you can see that in this game there's actually upgrades. So in the pause menu, Kratos has weapons, armor, and skills. All of these things you can upgrade. And so right now, as I said, I just started the game on normal difficulty. At the moment, I'm not sure if these upgrades carry over into a New Game Plus. So I don't know if when you start the hardest difficulty, I don't know if it starts you off from scratch or if it lets you carry over any upgrades. And so that's why I'm kind of taking my time with this game. I want to play through it first on normal so I can have fun with the game myself, learn the game in and out, really get to practice all of the mechanics. And then, once that's complete, I'll be starting a hardest difficulty walkthrough. And so that's again why I wanted to make this preview, because typically I try to start my walkthroughs the day the game comes out. But with this game, not only do I want to give it the due respect of making a proper walkthrough, and so with that I want to make sure I know the game in and out and really just take my time with the walkthrough, because I think that will be more enjoyable for everyone once all is said and done. But also, as I said, the difficulty is very challenging, and I think it needs a lot of practice before one is able to actually approach that difficulty. So what you see right here, this is the hardest setting. And so far, we really haven't done much. And you'll notice I skipped a lot of the... I skipped some cutscenes, because, again, this is just a preview, so I don't want to really jump into the story or anything. I just kind of wanted to show you some gameplay and talk about the actual difficulty. And in terms of the things that I wanted to say in this video, I think I got everything out of the way. So, again, I'm playing the game on normal first so that I can learn the game in and out, practice it. I'm guessing that's going to only, because I'm going to be pretty addicted to this game, I can already tell. I'm guessing that's only going to take about 2 or 3 days to actually get through the game. And then we'll see. We'll see if I'm ready to start the hardest difficulty. But just to put things in perspective, as I said, what you're seeing right now is the hardest difficulty. So far, we really haven't done anything, but I am going to show you the game's first combat encounter. And if you haven't seen anything from the game, then it might not really... By seeing this encounter, it might not give you a good gauge for how challenging it actually is. But if you've played the game yourself on normal or a lower difficulty, you'll see right away just how much more difficult the hardest setting in this game is. Now, one thing I would like to do before we get to that combat encounter is I'd like to thank some of the people that donated to the channel, which allowed me to purchase this game. So I will throw, I'm not very good with names, so I will throw, there were 3 people who donated some money to the channel that allowed me to purchase this game. So I will put their names, at least their first names, because I don't want to share their private information, but I'll put their first names, and if they have a channel, I'll put a link to their channel. I'll put a link to their channel in the description below. So, you know, if anything, if you're a fan of this channel and looking forward to watching me cover God of War, maybe leave a comment thanking them for donating to the channel. Also, one thing I wanted to note is one of the people who donated goes by the name Red Cyndaquil. He is the guy that also made my channel's banner art, which is just phenomenal. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to go to my channel and check out the banner art, because it's amazing. And so so Red Cyndaquil has definitely done a lot of favors for this channel. Anyway, guys, that's everything I wanted to talk about specifically. I'm about to show you the one combat encounter that I wanted to throw in here, just so you can kind of see what to expect in terms of difficulty. And like I said, this is all just a preview. If you're new to the channel, maybe you got a feel for the type of videos I produce. I really focus on making solid walkthroughs on the hardest difficulties. If you're already a fan of the channel, then I just kind of wanted to fill you in so that you know I'm not going to be covering the game immediately. It's going to take a little while. Now here we go. This is the combat encounter. You're going to start off with just one enemy, and we have our good old Leviathan axe. That's the name of Kratos' main weapon. And for the moment, we have 2 basic attacks. R1 for light attacks, R2 for heavy attacks. Now, if you press L1, Kratos will take out his shield. And as in most games of this nature, if you time your block at the perfect moment, it will actually cause this little slow motion event, and your enemy will kind of stumble backwards. They'll be stunned. So like you saw right there, I timed it perfectly. The enemy gets stunned, and that's a good chance for you to get in some attacks. Now, another really cool move that Kratos can do is he can throw his Leviathan axe and then call it back to him, very similar to Thor's hammer if you've seen any of the Marvel movies or comic books or anything like that. But right away, I mean, look at this. I'm only fighting 2 enemies. My attacks really aren't doing that much damage, and I don't know if you noticed right there, but the enemy that I just knocked down, he actually healed himself. So if you keep an eye on him, once he gets a little lower in health, he's going to stop and heal himself. And that's something that I had not seen. So right there, he's healing himself. That's something I have not seen yet on normal difficulty, at least not in the very first encounter, which is what really surprised me. So this difficulty really is challenging. And you're actually going to see that I died during this encounter. I made it close to the end, but I did end up dying. So again, that is why I'm not yet ready to start the walkthrough, but I just wanted to give you a preview, because I myself, I'm just not skilled enough yet at this game to be able to tackle the hardest difficulty. And I think it's going to take a lot of practice, but I also think that practice is going to be a lot of fun. I'm making a bold prediction right now. I think this game is going to be a Game of the Year contender. I think it's going to rack up a lot of awards, And I think if whether you're a fan of the God of War franchise or you've never really been introduced to it, I think you might want to pick up this game. I think it's going to be worth it. Anyway, guys, that is the end of my little preview here. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're excited in the comments down below. Again, remember, if you're a fan of the channel and if you're excited to see me cover this, feel free to thank the people that made some channel donations in the comments down below. Other than that, guys, that wraps up my preview. I'm really excited for this. Give me some time to learn the game, to practice the game, and hopefully to master the game. And the walkthrough will be out as soon as that happens. All right, see you later.